Dusty Rhodes over here or whatever, and I started watching ECW. Loved ECW. That hit me like the perfect time, right when I was like 12, 13, and you turn on ECW, you're like, it just hits you in all the right spots, you know. Like
sometimes when I'm watching you, sometimes I see a little bit of Terry Funk, and he would have come through ECW maybe at a time when you were watching, because certainly he was an older school guy. Was he a guy that you looked to as, hey man, this guy's pretty badass?
Oh, I love Terry Funk. Yeah, I love that ECW version of Terry Funk. He wasn't my favorite guy at the time or anything, but looking back, especially now that people compare me to him a lot, you know, you go back and look at like NWA champion type Terry Funk. He was awesome. Just mixing brawling with wrestling and I love all those, that's an aside, but I love all those old NWA champions, like just watching like Harley Race and Ric Flair and stuff like that, and just how they are the world champion. You know, like you watch Harley, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm just going to start rambling.
Right.
So you watch Harley Race. He's oblivious and does not care that there's even an audience. He's just out there, and I'm not even going to try to beat this guy. He comes out there, challenger in the ring. I'm the champion. Everybody knows I'm Harley Race. I'm the champion. This is the same goes for Jack Briscoe or a lot of those guys. Couldn't care less if there's a crowd here. Couldn't care less. I don't even have to try to beat this guy. What do you got? Try to take this belt off me. Let's see what you got. Try. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you had this, like, all right, who's this challenger? Let's see what you got. Because I know I'm the man. Everybody here knows I'm the man. And they were just like, they had a thing to them, you know? That I don't know if, like, you know, I would like to bring some of that to myself, you know, if I could.
Both of those guys, like Flair, Harley Race, had mentors. Who mentored you in the business?
I don't really particularly have one. I mean, there's been a lot, you know. I was trained by a guy named Les Thatcher's school in Ohio, and trained primarily in the ring by a guy named Cody Hawk, who all those guys at that school, where I went, I didn't even know it was in Cincinnati. I couldn't be happier that I got a chance to go to this school in Cincinnati. It's called Heartland Wrestling Association Main Event Pro Wrestling Camp, right? And I see a flyer on a telephone pole for it. And this is at the period of time where I'm just super obsessed with wrestling, and I'm like studying it and learning all this stuff, and but I don't have anything to do with that energy. I see a flyer on a telephone pole for a wrestling show. It's at the flea market for HWA. So I'm like, I got to go to that. Hell yeah. So I go to the show, and it's cool because it's like up close and personal. It's an indie show, and I'm like, whoa, these wrestlers are like, I'm right up on the ring. And on the program, at the very back of the program, it says, Les Thatcher's Main Event Pro Wrestling Camp. And it was like this serendipitous moment, this giant light shone down from the heavens. It was like, and it was like, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. So I write like a letter and like try to get in and show up. And eventually I end up, you know, sweeping the floors and selling popcorn because I'm like 16 at the time. And by this point,
train you?
You had to be 18.
Gotcha.
So I had to hang out. And
so for 2 years, you swept floors, sold popcorn, paid dues?
And it was like because it was an old school camp, you know. Les wrestled in the 60s.
Right.
You know, like he wrestled Ric Flair and like when he first came to like Charlotte, you know. He always says he was Ric Flair's first match in the territory, which could be suspect, I don't know. But, you know, I mean, that's how old he was. So this is an old school camp. So you have to learn everything. You do nothing but take bumps. You have to learn everything and do it perfectly before you get to learn the next thing. So you might just take bumps for 2 months until you can do that flawlessly, and then you get to learn how to lock up and yada, yada, yada until you can build the match.
So with all the tape study that you'd done, the countless hours that you'd watch, all the stuff that you compiled, the things that you shoplifted, maybe, were you a fast learner? Did it just come natural to you because you had watched so much of it?
Yeah, a lot of it did, to be honest. Like, a lot of it didn't, you know, but a lot of the physical stuff, I mean, some stuff came easy, some stuff came, you know, but once I kind of started putting it all together after I'd been wrestling for a year or so, like I started to feel like I was getting pretty good pretty quickly. It kind of maybe being a little cocky, you know. But I mean, it was 2 years of just getting my ass kicked and just training every day. I loved that school. Like, I would just live at that school. They gave me a key to the...
But how was the school? Because, you know, when I watch your style now, if you hadn't told me that you'd had amateur background, I would never think that you did, because that's not a part of how you worked. And I've gone back to watch your stuff from all the places that you've worked, and you've really worked a pro style, or what you put together on your own, but there's no amateur stuff in there. Was that a conscious choice that you made?
Yeah, it's not really my personality, you know. Like, I guess, I don't know, just none of that stuff ever. I mean, I don't know. I love that because I was always taught that style was like calling the ring. Like first match I had, being there with a veteran, don't even come up with a finish. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to wrestle 60 minutes calling the ring, and it's harder to do now because the style's different and for television and so forth. But I started with and still kind of always defer back to that call it in the ring type of working, and I like being in the ring with guys that are like that and kind of feeling it out on the go,
When did you know that, hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Was there that serendipitous moment?
Yeah, but before then, yeah, I just went with the wind, I knew I just knew,
But there was a time there for a while where you got out of the business, right? You just went back to a regular job.
No. What are you reading? The internet?
No, I'm watching. You talking about working at a health club, a fitness club.
I've worked at a fitness club.
You kind of got away from the business.
Oh, there have been times, there have been bad times, I mean, I've never not worked the weekend or, stopped wrestling or whatever, there have been times, because I spent a lot of time in the Indies where it'd be like, where you come really close to quitting, where you go like, screw this, and you throw your hands up, but you still go back. You still show up at the show that weekend.
Why do you say screw this, let's just quit, just because it's the Indies? Is it the pay? Is it the long miles? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, all that. You start wondering, at some point, everybody, if you put in enough time and don't get rewards for it, you start wondering, when am I going to get a shot, when's something going to happen? You try to send feelers out here, you get nothing. You try to get a tryout here, get nothing. But actually, those kind of failures are actually kind of the thing that kind of really helped me kind of get myself to the next level just inside myself. Because at a certain point, like after wrestling for a few years and just kind of scraping by on the Indies and being like, man, this is like it might have been a bad idea. Like, I'm starting to get to the point where like, this may not work out as a success for me, Did
you have a plan B?
No.
You bounced around from organization to organization, not bounced, but wrestled. And then you finally ended up in Puerto Rico. And
I went there. I actually went there when I was like 20. I went there like pretty early on in my career. I had a great time there actually because, that's where I really learned about, being vicious. I was down there with Bushwhacker Luke. And, I was pretty young and, could do some fancy little moves and had some pretty hair, you know what I mean? But like down there, they didn't care about any of that. You go down there and do a fancy move. They're like, cool. Whatever. What else you got? You go out there and go, scream and yell and punch a guy in the face. And that's what they want to see. They want that like blood and